So please welcome Peter D back to the show. Welcome, Peter.
Hey, Ashley, thank you. You don't know what an honor it is for me because one, you're just so amazing. Your energy field and the way you carry yourself is so beautiful. But you've also interviewed me for each of my three books, and the third book is just coming out on service. And I just have deep, deep gratitude. And I just need to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for the books you write. And, I was thinking today, getting ready for this interview, like going back to the first interview and, not knowing you. And now it's like, gosh, you're like I know you, you're my friend. Like, here we go. Like, it's so fun to, this podcast is such a gift when I get to meet people like you and learn from you and collaborate on a retreat with you. And, it just keeps going. And I get so excited. And I'm excited to read your third book on service.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing since I've been doing this work, the connection of so many cool people. You get all your guests who have the magic abilities, right? And I get to meet people like you who are amazing. And I also get to meet a lot of clients. I had one client for the first time this past week, and he tickled me pink. And he said, "I'm so excited." And at the end of the interview, he said, "Wow, you're just like you are on your YouTubes. You're like the person you see is the person you get."
Right.
I thought that was a really nice compliment.
Yes, isn't it? And I think of now knowing Tracy and the two of you together and understanding how you've grown together and done uh you've expanded so much together, and it's so fun to watch a husband and wife. Sometimes I feel like, either one of them in a relationship, one of them's on this expansion journey, the other one's kind of watching. And I'm probably saying that because Richard's like, "What are you doing now?" But I love
Right.
watching you and Tracy because you're like on this trajectory together, and it's so
Yeah,
powerful.
it's kind of fun because before we were deep into it like we are now, we knew and we just kept getting attracted. I mean, I did everything I can to, you know, drive her away when we first got started, but that's, her resiliency and the fact that we were together was meant to be, and it's beautiful. But what was kind of funny is early on, I knew that my purpose in this relationship was to take her places she would not normally go. And I'm talking physical places.
Hmm.
Like we went to Lake Titicaca on a Lee Carroll tour, and I just wanted to go because it was cool. And so she came along, and when we get there, she starts getting thrown into past lives where she had been a carrier of sacred energies and stuff, and understood what was going on in the land around here and how she was going to be a vessel to clear that.
Hmm.
And so, of course, she suffered from altitude sickness and all kinds of stuff all night, but she did a lot of clearing both for the land and for herself. And same with Oneness University. I kept going there, and I'm like, yeah, you're going to come one of these days. And one day she comes home from shopping and shows me these sandals. She goes, "You know what these are?" And I go, "No." She goes, "These are going to India shoes." And so,
Oh,
so we had this relationship where I was the one who was the impetus to take her places. Now we're at this place where I have to get off my ego trip of thinking I'm the one who's running at the point here and at the forefront of this, because she has blossomed into a person who has so many abilities. Right and left, she's doing new things that I've never heard of and conceived of. And I'm like, whoa, who is this powerful woman I'm married to?
yeah,
So
I love
it's
it.
kind of the thing now is like I just kind of watch her take off and go, okay, I'm going to learn this and this and this. This is new. Put it on the list.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's so fun. I love it. And her interview here on this podcast was incredible. I mean, she surprised me. It was like, I mean, it was amazing. So yeah, I've just enjoyed it, and I enjoy the two of you together. And anyway, I just love you both. And
Thank you.
so besides your book right now that we're going to talk about in a little bit, what is exciting you about life? Like, what's like lighting you up?
So I didn't know what was coming down the pipe. We all probably around COVID, but for me it was then, for many of us it is. We all kind of had this question, what am I doing in life now? It's no longer just clocking hours and making money or doing a normal job. What am I doing? So this whole question of purpose came up. Now, I did not know I was going to become a channel. I used to laugh at channels. I thought they
Right.
were stupid and making shit up. And now I am. Okay. So I've learned the lesson, very interesting. Anything I laugh at, I become. So it's like, oh my God. I start making fun of something in my life and I'm go, oh, I wonder how many years till I do that, right? Because it's
Right.
guaranteed now, right?
Oh,
Uh,
funny.
so now I'm this channel, and it's very clear to me that I'm here in my purpose, which I always knew I was here for some very important reason. At 6 years old, I got super sick, and a voice was talking to me, and it was saying, Peter, don't read philosophy books. And I was
Hmm.
6. I don't even know what a philosophy book is,
Oh,
but it was
huh.
basically saying that I would learn all these things that were not going to be helpful and was going to shut down my growth. And I needed to be open for what was coming. So my whole life I was waiting. Is this it? Is this it? 2000 Y2K, 2012. Is this it? This. So now I'm finally it. Oh my God, the planet's ascending and I'm an ascension teacher. And I can see all my past lives where I was on the fringes because I'm one of those old souls, people who check in. And when I check in, I get confirmation. Yeah, about 11 billion years, right? So I'm like,
Oh,
so I really
wow.
drug things out the slow path, right? I wanted to go slow. And a lot of times I was on the fringe, right? So I was there when Christ ascended, but I was not involved in it. I just observed it. I was there when the other great teachers that I know have come across, I've witnessed ascensions before, which were very rare on the planet. And this was all my training to be on the fringe of all that, so that when my time came, it was like, oh, now I have this wealth of experience and now I'm doing this. So my soul knew this a long time ago. I did not know this till now. So this is what's super exciting. And then, of course, it's like, and I've always wanted to write books and never been able to do it. And then in the past 17 months, 3 books and 3 classes. They're online at becomingawesome.one and Ascension Intensives. You can get the whole bundle and it's like 45 hours worth of teaching and experiences and stuff. So it's all laid out now. The pieces are there for anybody who wants to follow a path of ascension. It's not the only one, but it's one we know that works. Okay. Uh, so so I've done this. It's like, wow, I fulfilled this. So it's like the question is what's next? And then beautiful people like you show up and say, now you're going to start to do retreats and this is going to open up travel. I'm thinking Bali in the back of my mind, France again. Uh, so I'm very excited. I did not know this was going to be my life and my lifestyle. And it just keeps getting better and better.
Right. Thank you more, please.
Yeah, thank you more, please. Yes, yes.
I love that. Oh, and when you taught me that the first episode, and I would now say, I say it all the time. Thank you more, please. I thank you more, please. I found a dime on the ground this morning on my walk, and I said, "Oh, I'm seeing Peter D. Thank you more, please."
Yeah, right. I did before I even learned the prayer, thank you more, please. It was kind of innate. I would see like coins on the ground and go, free money. Money just is on the ground here. It's free. And I was like,
Yeah, I love it.
so, now it's like, yeah, I love it. I love those little bits of joy. Can you imagine a penny makes you happy? Can you imagine
Right.
that?
Oh, I get so excited when I see that because I know I was listening to your abundance video this morning. And I guess let's talk about that because that was so interesting because I know you ran for governor. So you've been part of like you've been into the government type of thing. And that's fascinating to me. It's such a polar opposite of what you're doing now.
I know, isn't it?
So
Like,
that's what made me
what? You did
laugh.
this?
Yeah, so now that I know you better, and when I thought that's right, he ran for governor. Like, who would have thought? Like if I didn't know anything about you, I never would have thought that. And so when you were talking about the abundance, and right now, if we talk about the day, it's like we're getting ready next week for this, election and all this stuff. And I don't even watch the thing and it drives me crazy. And I live in my 5D world and my vibration, and I focus on that and all the things you teach. But explain to me, like, how do you do right now? Like, what do you, um, because the other side of the coin on the government side, and now that you're
Yeah.
over here fulfilling your true purpose, how do you what do you do besides going on a vacation for the next couple weeks?
Right, yeah,
Besides
yeah,
escape and go
I'm not gonna
and
be in the country when the election happens.
right.
And so I know a lot of people who are looking for the chaos and enjoying it, like past the popcorn and stuff. And I don't even do that because that gives you it buys into the system. That's the whole thing. Now I did vote in this election, and I had a lot of serious question about that because I don't want to permission a system that, in my mind, and I'm going to be very careful how I say this so it doesn't get censored. In my mind, the power that be has not operated in the interests of those that are governed. That's pretty clear, and you can go to the extreme of the nth degree of how bad it gets. Like,
Right.
oh, are they really out to get me? Pretty much that's the evidence of it, right? So I don't want to give my power to that system. Yet at the
Mhm.
same time, I do want to make a statement for what I want. See, we were so used to voting for the lesser of two evils, and I love the voting commercials now. It's like they have to get you to vote because voting's below 50%, because most people understand that it doesn't really do anything. Okay. And then they say, there's two things going on. One is that there's these commercials running that are saying voting is public record. Your friends will know whether or not you voted.
Oh, gee.
I'm like, oh my God, it's shame. It's public shame to get people to comply.
Wow.
And we saw that before when different uh, health things were up, and the government was actually saying, at least in my state, the government was very clearly saying, shame people who don't buy into what's going on.
Mm.
Okay. So there's that. And then there's these other set of commercials running that are, oh yeah, celebrate, get together with your party. And it's like a party, as everybody knows, do it with your friends and stuff. And so when I went to vote this year, it was really like a celebration because they have early voting where I live. I could just walk in and vote. And it was like everyone was like, rah, rah, cheer. Do you want stickers? They clap after every person voted. I'm like,
Oh,
it was like, did I walk into a cult of politics? I've never
wow.
seen this before, but this was the whole attitude. And it's very interesting. On the one side, rah, rah, rah. On the other side, shame, shame, shame. And I'm like, hmm. So for me, the whole question is, am I giving my power away? Because I'm a sovereign entity and I need to ask for what I want. I need to say no to what I don't want so I can create the world. And then when everybody rises up to that and shoulders that responsibility, takes that amount of power in their lives, then that's how the whole system's going to change. The energy is getting more and more dense, or they're getting more and more dense. We're getting more light, so it's going to collapse under their own weight. I mean, that's
Right.
obvious. Um, so when it came to voting this year, I was like, I really had a turmoil about, am I going to vote, because I don't want to contribute to the system, but I decided I wanted to make a statement for who I want. All right. And
Right.
there were two people I wanted. One dropped out early, a beautiful woman who had a pot in her platform, the Department of Peace. And
Oh,
in that video we're talking about, just aired today on Abundance on my channel, uh, they did an audit of the Pentagon. The Pentagon has $4 trillion in assets, and 60% of it is unaccounted for. Now, you and I would be run on a reel, sent to jail, crucified if we said, oh, we don't know where 60% of what we're in charge is, you know.
right.
Okay. But no, it's the government and it's okay. And we need more for our defense. We also know that in the Pentagon budget of 820 billion last year, 20% of that, or I think it's 2 point some billion, goes to dark projects. In other words, the government has decided that we don't need to know because it's in our interest to not know, because we're safer when we don't know. And so we're permissioning this, and to the tune of, we don't know where, $2.6 trillion is at this point. Okay.
Right.
So here's a candidate, beautiful woman who wants a Department of Peace.
Hmm.
I could see dumping 2 trillion bucks into peace.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
But she didn't make it out of the primary. She is a major party candidate. She didn't make it out of the primary. So then there was an independent running who had a track record of suing corporations for false health products. And I won't say any more about that. You guys all know what this is. And this candidate was running, so I was super happy because I like, wow, somebody's calling it like it is out there.
Right.
And so this candidate dropped out. I understand that. You get to a certain point where the finances and stuff is just crazy, and it's clear you're not going to make it within that system. Uh, and endorsed another one of the two major candidates. Now, I didn't like either of that. Now, because our state, the judges are so in line politically. You're not supposed to, but they so are. Like, for instance, when the mandates came out about the recent health crisis, uh, there was immediately a lawsuit filed by the Restaurant Association. And within an hour, I kid you not, within an hour, the New Mexico Supreme Court rules that everything was fine. Can you
Oh,
imagine
wow.
the time it takes for a case to go from filing locally through all the levels of government up to the Supreme Court where they go, this is how it's going to be? That happened in 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So it's very clear that these judges who are not supposed to be political are in cahoots with what was being mandated at the time. Okay.
Right.
So, the judges have decided it's in the interest of themselves, and they make up all their legal excuses for it, in the interest of themselves, to keep this candidate on the ballot, even though he has dropped out. So that's who I voted for.
Oh. Oh,
I got a
funny.
chance just for me. I get to vote for who I want.
Right, exactly. I love it. But, it's just, the whole, when you're saying people, like, get your popcorn and, and I feel that, when we live like we do and how like, just now, like, you just go and you do what you do, we don't need to follow anything. I think it's so fun to live in a place of awe and wonder and excitement and creating our own life and reality, right?
Yeah.
We're that's what we do.
Yeah. And the power that we have is starting to manifest. So we did another video a few weeks ago. It was entitled We Threw Our Brains in a Hurricane.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
we had a friend at ground zero. Now, she was at ground zero of the hurricane. So it was pretty bad. And it still is bad. Siesta Key, they're all sitting there talking about oh, all this money goes to Red Cross and relief. And she's saying, the garbage is piled 20 feet high all around me, and nobody's doing a thing. No government, no media, no nothing. But they're all out there saying, give us more money to help these victims. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's how that works. But anyway, so she asked for help. So we got together with a couple of different groups that we know are powerful manifestors and meditators, including one guy who's had experience with literally working with a group to move and steer a hurricane around. All right, so we went in there with the intent of, because you have to respect Mother Nature. And the way I understand it when I talk to Gaia is that, if you humans aren't going to express it, then I have to let it out through weather and earthquakes and stuff like that, because that's just the nature of the power that you have. Okay. And so there's a lot of people in that state who are not expressing what's going on. And of course, the anger is being fueled by the political cycle of hate you because you're this color, no, hate you because you're that color, right? And
Right.
so that's going on. Yeah. And anyway, so we get together. We want to minimize this hurricane. And our first night of meditation, it goes from a category 5 to a category 3. Okay.
Wow.
And then the next morning, it's back up at a 5 again. And
Oh
it had
my
steered
gosh.
it south a little, which is we wanted. We wanted to go past the panhandle over by Cuba and kind of go through that strait. And that was back on course, right where it was targeted again and back up again. Now, one of our friends had access to satellite photos, and he could look from the top down at these hurricanes, and you could see straight lines. Right now, this is nature. Nature doesn't have straight lines, right? And you could see the straight lines, which were manipulating the spin of the vortex. And that means scalar weaponry was being used, scalar energy was being used. And so this was being part of the attack on, you know, where does that dark money go? Okay, well, it goes to
Right?
these kinds of weapons. And and now it was being used on in the US population. And I'm like, wow, that's something. Okay, so then we knew that this was a game. All right. And so we're not in opposition to anything, right? Because if you get in opposition, you lose, because then you play the game and then you're in the fight and all that stuff. So first thing we did was we declared no, not on our planet. This is not allowed. The second thing we did is remembering one of my teachers when he was asked the question, what if two people pray for opposing events, like a sporting event? You want your side to win. You're rooting for it. They want their side to win. And we know home field advantage is a real thing. The odds maker give you more points because there's people
Right.
holding consciousness, right? So we said, well, wow, we get to play a game. And what this teacher said is whoever has the better relationship to the divine wins. And I like winning, and we have good relation to the divine. So we did it. So part of our prayer was that it was going to minimize and just dissipate when it hit the coast. We were working with some entities that were, Metatronics, I think they were called, and inner earth beings and stuff. And they, that's what we were working to do. I won't get into all the details that happened. But anyway, you can look at videos and you can see the hurricane on the radar. Soon as it touches the coast, the eye wall evaporates. And so it
Wow.
went from what it was to a one, a category one with no defined eye wall. Now, it still did a lot of damage on the key because that was getting where it first hit, but it didn't go inland. And
Wow.
so we now know this, I've got participating with a group of people. Wow. So you want to play with high tech weaponry? You want to do this or that? We got consciousness
Hmm.
and it's being demonstrated. And now can't wait to see how it turns out when all of us start claiming our power and using our consciousness to create a world of beneficence, a world where abundance flows, instead of the world where we fight each other. So I'm just super excited by all that. And this is the big thing I want to say, Ashley, is never doubt your power. Man, we moved a hurricane.
Right. Right. Oh, I love that. Yeah, Tracy had told me that. I think I was on a call with her the day after you had that experience and how powerful that was. And yeah, I was watching that video too, and I could see the news people showing like the red circles and how like the next day it moved down here to a 3, and then you had your thing, and then it moved. It was just like, yeah, it's amazing. It's just showing people how powerful we are, and that we've been so dumbed down to not know the power that we are.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you started to talk about consciousness, you did a video on that. I get so much knowledge from how you're scientific, but it's easy. And I understand it from from my mind. That's not so scientific, but you make
Well,
it
thank
where
you.
I
That's
can
a
understand
compliment.
it.
If I can make something understandable, I'm doing my
Yes.
job. Thank you.
Yes. So you do this whole thing on consciousness with that anesthesiologist from the University of Arizona, and you explain he's trying to figure out where is consciousness, right?
Right.
Do you know what
Right.
I'm talking
Yes.
about? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And
Stuart
how,
Hammerhoff is the guy's name.
yes. So, but then you're explaining it in a way that, what is it, like how we can start to teleportation, all these different remote view, where you're explaining that. Can you explain that to
Yeah.
everybody?
So this is in the third book too. This is chapter 7.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, good. We're
uh,
going to talk about that. Okay.
yeah, so
Great.
which is creating your own personal dimensional portal.
Right.
And I've been reluctant to go public with this, but Spirit's really been pushing me because, it's one thing when you just talk about other people's work. It's another thing when you start coming out with your own stuff that I did not know any of this. When I first started, I did not know that it was actually based in science and everything. But the bottom line is that Stuart Hameroff is in conjunction with Roger Penrose, Nobel Prize physicist. All right. And the two of them were working on trying to figure out consciousness. And they created a theory called OR, orchestrated objective or orchestrated reduction, something or another. Anyway, OR basically says that consciousness is in the quantum field in the superimposed realities that are laid upon each other. So I know this doesn't make any sense, but because we look at reality and we think it's a thing, but they're talking about time crystals and stuff like that. And in the quantum field, in the regular field like we're in, you turn a light switch, it's on or it's off. And that's called a binary bit. It's in one state or another. In the quantum field, it can be in either state or both states or any state. And then these are all layered on top of each other, which is timelines, realities, dimensions, multiverse, all layered on top of each other. And where it collapses then becomes our reality. Okay. Now,
Okay.
consciousness is the interaction, as I understand it, of that collapse. Consciousness is what brings it to this focus, and then that then creates the reality. And what's interesting about Hammerhoff and Penrose's theory, and I'm trying to do the best I can, I'm not them and I don't understand
Right.
like they do, but what's interesting is that there is the first theory that incorporates free will and
Hmm.
quantum physics and the spiritual natures of what we understand consciousness, and it puts it all together to explain it. So consciousness is, by their definition, uh, an external thing that we access through our brains. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Because of these microtubules and all these other complexities, but we're accessing it. And so, what I've come to understand in my teaching and my direct connection with spirit is that I am consciousness, existence, bliss. I am consciousness. Consciousness, as we understand it in the universal way, is what we would call God or source. And it is created all these fractals of itself to experience itself in different ways. And we're all those different fractals and those experiences. So whatever we do is consciousness in action. Okay.
Got it.
Uh, and so understanding that you are a consciousness and then understanding that you're a consciousness interacting with physical reality, right? Because we've chosen as consciousness to go play the 3D game here on Earth. And
Hmm.
then there's principles you can apply that allow you to do this stuff. Now, anybody who channels or does light language is already doing it. They just don't know they're doing it. And they don't know that they can do it in other aspects of their life by practicing the technique that was presented to me, which was creating your dimensional portal. My friend calls it portallini because it's a mixture of portals and kundalini. So
Okay.
you cook up some portallini, all right? And so,
Oh, funny.
and once you do that, then all these skills, it's not like, oh, there's channeling here and there's flipping timelines here and there's manifestation here. It's no, it's all the access point by going into your consciousness and understanding what layer of reality and then bringing it into your dimensional portal. And then boom, it's creation. That's how I understand it. And I was under very strict instructions from my source, my sacred higher self. Get this out there. And now that I'm talking about it, source is telling me, yes, Peter, you're doing a good job. It's more than you just explained. And we need a lot of people on the planet to start accessing their own power. And this is a technique that anybody can use to start being the powerful magic user, manifester, creator being.
Right. Yes, but so I mean, I watched the whole video, so I'm with you. But people
I
need to
know
go
it's
watch
really
that.
complex stuff, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yes. And I was so impressed by the slides and everything and how I felt like I was at science class. But when you talk about this portal that we can create in within our human body to be able to access that realm, that where
Other realities,
other realities.
yeah. So it's like this: you already are a portal. So if you could
Right.
look at your energetic body, you would see that you're a torus of energy that's in motion. It has to be in motion of this energy torus, or you'd be dead lump. Okay. So you
Okay.
already are this. Okay. And what's unique about this is it's a non binary thing. So it's a torus of energy that's spinning in two directions simultaneously, both up and down, both left and right, both round this way and around that way simultaneously. Okay.
Okay.
Which, because of the oppositional spin in all these things, means that any of those possible realities exist in it. So if you can get your consciousness aligned with it, see, we're separated because our consciousness is focused on 3D and our physical body and the physical realm, and it's not focused on the expansive realm of the quantum, of creation, of time and space, all of that. So what it is by putting this energy technique, you then make your focus into that. And then you just literally drop whatever you want into it. You use your consciousness to see it happening. It's a prayer, it's manifested then.
Wow. But that's kind of how we're going to be living in this new earth, right? Like That's all how it's instant manifestation, instant
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. So, in very simple terms, I've heard it explained like this. So, we know that our star brothers and sisters, we know that some of them are dimensional and they're dropping down, but we also know some of them are not that far removed from us on the dimensional scale. Okay. And they can travel uh, across hundreds and thousands of light years. Now, how does that happen? All right. And
Mm-hmm.
so the simplest explanation is they just put the coordinates in of the time and the space frequency where they want to be. Because if you can do this through space, you can do it through time. So they just put those coordinates in and then they hold it in their machines and their consciousness. Their great light ships are actually both conscious and machines. So this whole thing about AI being the enemy and stuff, not really, not for those entities. Okay. Uh, and then poof, they go from here to there instantaneously because that's the way the quantumness works. I mean, everything is connected in the universe. That's in that video you were talking about. Nassim Harriman explains how everything is connected, which is again super trippy. But anyway, what I've been shown is that by focusing your consciousness through breath and focus of energy, you can then create your own dimensional portal, which you are already, but now you're being aware of it and you're moving it up to a higher speed and stuff. And then that allows you to drop in what you want. And just like these massive light ships that can move through, star systems in the galaxy, you can then move through to the timeline, to the place, to the reality you want to be in. And that's all it is taking that thing, and it's done without a machine because in one sense we already have the biochemical machine to do that. We are that already. uh,
Right.
but yeah, so it's just being aware of this principle of how it works. Our consciousness as a planet has risen enough where it can be out there now. Oh, this is how it works. Now let me just go change to a timeline that I'm happier in.
Right. Yeah. Gosh, amazing. When you were saying that, like about all the UFOs and everyone's like, oh, we were at Bashar a month ago and he said we're going to have contact within the next 5 years. And is it because we're getting it to their level, so we are have that access? That's the whole difference. Is it's not them coming down on the lawn in front of the White House one day. It's us understanding that we have that access to that realm.
Totally true. Totally true. We have to raise, see, they're dimensional beings in that they are in 4 and 5 and 6 and all these other places. And they have to lower down to, for us in 3 to get a sense of it. Okay. And so yeah, for us to get to that habit of massive thing on our planet, we have to raise up enough to be able to be aware of it. And that's going to be both energetic and quite physical. We're going to raise up enough, and that means our consciousness is going to be high enough. So our first instinct won't be to shoot and kill them like it's been now, because that's what the programmers and the controllers and the media have pushed for how long?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I learned this early on that if somebody's blaming somebody for something, almost always the person doing the blaming
Yep.
is the one having the behavior that they're trying to divert you with. So
Right.
when our movies and when our government and whatever is telling us, oh, well, these scary aliens, we got to be prepared, and that tells me instantly that they're already in contact and they already know that it's not like they say it is. It's going to be different. And who's the scary one here?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, the way Bashar described it, and he showed us a picture of us standing on the side of an ocean, like on the beach. And he showed the UFO like out on the water. And it was just like a gentle, like we're here, we're fine. It wasn't it's nothing to be afraid of. We're gonna do this gently. We're gonna
Yeah.
be like it wasn't they're coming down and gonna be killing you or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think I'm really evolved, but I still have programmed racist thoughts from my childhood, which automatically creep up. And that's with my own species. That doesn't relate to how I retreat to species that I call lesser. Oh, you're a bug, let me kill you. I mean, that's how it is, right? And let alone communicating between species on the planet, which is happening more and more in my life. Okay. Uh, and I know that this is scary stuff. And I can't imagine what it'll be like when the energetics are so different that it's not even resonant with Earth's magnetic field, and the energetics of a different whole lineage of being is. It's going to create fear just because I'm a programming in my body. And I like to think I'm evolved. So,
Right.
yeah, of course it's going along at this pace it's going along, and it's being gentle.
What about our DNA and our like what how is that going to shift? Is that shifting now because of the energy?
Yeah, yeah. So, my understanding is that we're a melange. There's been a whole bunch of races that have meddled with our DNA, and in a good way. I mean, there was them getting together at different times to say, okay, we want humanity to be like this because we want to house our consciousness in it. And those of us who were not physically conscious, but looking at Earth as the place to be our home. So we're talking consciousnesses that were here a long time ago and then aligned with the Earth and then have been here the whole time since. We said, yeah, we want this, we want that. And as I understand it, this is our fifth go of creating vessels that can be in physicality and still be connected to spirit. And because it was either the balance was too far to one side and it was all physical and we kill each other, or it was too far to the other side and it was all just peace and peaches and cream, and there was none of the evolution that was can come from manifesting things physically and having those kinds of powers. So, this is our fourth go at it, or fifth go at it. The other four were not successful, and they ended either in cataclysm or us killing each other and stuff like that. And that's you can read about it in the Vedas for the Great Wars and stuff like that, and those histories are true and stuff like that. Anyway, so here we've got this beautiful DNA that has all kinds of stuff in it, including multi-dimensional strands. Two strands, and it's going to be not just the different strands, but the activation of the different parts. Okay, on those different strands. Tracy's been telling me, and this is where I'm learning from her. Yeah, we're going to get up to around 12 strands of DNA, but most of them are etheric and energetic. And those are the ones that are coming online. The thing is, we have to have our body to hold these energies so we can express them. This is why the whole chakra system is what it is, and why the chakra clearing and cleaning, especially the beliefs that Tracy and I really work with that are in those chakras, are so important, because those are the opening spots for this additional DNA coming online. And then, I don't know what I've been told. I haven't seen these visions yet, but spirits nodding and said, yeah, this is correct. Within a few hundred years, we're going to be taller. Literally, don't use food the way we use food, like we're using it now. And we're just going to be lighter because there's going to be this blend. And I think it's going to be like 4D matter, where it is still physical matter, but it's imbued with so much light and stuff. It'll be in a state that's not what we currently understand matter to be now. So that's going to be our movement into light bodies. And they're telling me that most of what I just said is correct, but they're giving me information that I don't have words for. So that's the
Hmm.
best I can do right now.
Oh, huh, interesting. But even like the children, I was listening to some interview the other day about how the children these days, that are being born now have that already,
Yeah, that's definitely really cool.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe we need to have another baby. Just kidding. Um,
Well, just think about, I mean, you know all the agreements that happen when you have a baby. It's all happening usually on the other side. You know who your parents are going to be. They know who you're going to be. You decide, okay, you're going to play the good role. I'm going to play the bad role so I can do my growth, or we're going to do this together and stuff. And these are all choices that are made. Imagine when we have enough awareness that we do it in 3D or 4D or whatever D we're in at the time. Okay, we're going to bring in this child because they're out there and I can sense who's out there. And
right,
this is going to be the beauty and growth that's going to happen. I mean, that's coming down the pipe, that kind of birthing.
right. Oh, that's so good. I love that. Okay, let's talk about your book. Yeah, and I think that's cool that this portal thing is in your book. I didn't know that. So can't wait to
Yeah.
read it. I know I'll get one tomorrow, but let's talk about it. And what made it be
Yeah.
service? Where did that come from?
All right. So when I first was doing this thing, Spirit said, don't write one big book, write 3 books. And I didn't even understand what the third book was going to be. And Spirit said, don't worry about it, write the first one, then we'll get to the second one, and we'll get to the third one. And now I see that there were all kinds of things that were layered in the first 2 books that were necessary to get people to this third level. And the bottom line, in a nutshell, is once you're totally fulfilled, in other words, you've come to do whatever you're going to do and you've done it, there's only one thing that gives you joy: service.
Hmm.
Okay. That's it. Because you've done all these, I strove to be a supermodel. I strove to be a corporate titan. I strove to be famous and have a big following on YouTube. Whatever you want to create, you go create it, you feel fulfilled. As soon as you're fulfilled, only one thing matters after that. So this is why my teachers and my belief, Tracy and I believe that, doesn't matter what you do. Just go out and do it to your heart's content. Go and strive for it. Do the best you can. Get fulfilled, because when you do, the only thing that's left is service. Now you wonder about it from the point of view of, why is the earth surrounded by so many beneficent beings? Angels, you go get to play with Bashar, who represents just one lineage of Ashtar brothers and sisters, and there's hundreds, thousands of them out there. There's inner earth beings, there's Gaia, there's all this stuff. Why do we live in a place where there's so much hell?
Hmm.
Because at the higher densities, that's all that matters. Service is the
Right.
only thing that's fulfilling. So you just backward engineer it. Where are we headed to? Service, right? Well, then let's start talking about that and just bring that up. Now, the book also goes into a lot of the other stuff about uh, what your purpose is, the importance of being authentic, who you are, because you're never going to get fulfilled if you're not authentic.
Right.
And then some of that abundance stuff that we were talking about, which was, why I produced that video. So those are the main topics, plus 2 brand new clearing techniques that Tracy brought in that are super powerful. And
Do we get to
in
do
fact,
those
one of them is
in
like a,
January? Do we get to do
yeah,
those?
no, we're not going to do those in January because we haven't figured out yet how to do them en masse. All right.
Oh,
Right
okay.
now, we're only figuring out how to do them one on one. So, because this information is so new. But the
Huh.
ones we are doing are stuff that's talked about in books 1 and 2, and they're super powerful. The stuff we are going to be
Right.
doing in January, super good clearings. Uh, yeah, and so Tracy's working on this, and that's what our next request to Spirit is. Okay, we've got this information. We know how to do it in one-on-one sessions. We're in the book. We've described other people to do it so they can learn it and they can teach it. Now, how do we do it in mass? So
Right.
we're going to see what Adventure Spirit gives us an answer to that question.
Fun. Oh, when you say like once in the higher densities, it's all about service, right? And what gives me joy is service. Like I love retreats. I love like Sunday is our retreat. I can't wait to see the people like uncover their magic, and I get so much joy. I just was at a school this morning with these little kids that I get to help get with their growth mindset. I did their, um, helping them with remembering really what their parents are making them forget. So that all of that brings me joy, Peter, more than anything. So does that mean that
Right,
I'm at that
exactly.
place? Okay.
Yeah. So this is a sign of where you're at, and you still do your day-to-day stuff, right? You still do all that stuff because it's what got you here. It's, things that are comfortable and you've enjoyed them. But when it comes to it, it's like, okay, this is the platform now that I'm going to build my next step from. And that next step is always, always service. And so this is just teaching that this is where we're headed. This is the pinnacle. And it's kind of interesting too, because I want to talk about this because I'm feeling it in the energy field. And it's the fear thing. And that's been underlying with the whole money thing and the whole, star brother and sister thing in politics is the fear thing. Well, if fulfillment leads to service, and if you should do whatever you want to do to get fulfilled, what about the bad people who do bad things? Right?
Right.
Shouldn't I be worried about them? And the bottom line is, as soon as you worry about them, you take yourself out of the ability to move up. You're now
Right.
playing at the lower game, which is why design, which is why they're walking around. I heard it explained this way in one of the first books I ever heard this concept. It was in the Right Use of Will books series, which is a beautiful
Hmm.
series of books. Uh, you're skipping down a path and you're joyful. And there's a denial spirit. That's their word for, the author's word, because these are books channeled from God. That was the author's word for spirits that want to stay in low density. So there's a
Okay.
denial spirit lying across the road, the path, and you don't see it because it's on the ground lying there. And you're skipping along happy and you trip. Okay. And the
Hmm.
denial spirit says, look out, watch out, look where you're going. How come you're not, you didn't see me? And all that stuff. So now you're presented with an opportunity and you got all these choices you can make. But what is the only choice that keeps you in joy? And that is you just keep skipping down the path. All right,
Right.
thanks. Nice to run into you. Got to go. And you just keep
Right.
skipping down the path, right? All right. So now, what are these people doing that are creating all these bad things in the world that you're supposed to be afraid about? You're no longer skipping to your joy. You're saying, oh, I got to take care of them. And the moment
Right.
you take care of them, you sacrifice your sovereignty and your power. You're allowing yourself to be affected by them. Oh, I'm in the world where there are bad people in there. Instead of I'm in the world where I'm sovereign, I'm safe, I'm protected. Now, if you've had these experiences of being harmed and brutalized, it's easy to use that as evidence and proof. I was born into the planet with harm and brutalization, right? That was
Right.
my birth and all
Right.
that stuff. So I could have gone down that path, and I did for decades, and I suffered the results of it because it was what taught me here. Now that I've come to this side, I can say, well, you want to spend suffering for decades, you know, you can. At some point, you just got to decide I'm a God source being, and therefore I create my world and I'm safe and protected, or I'm a victim. So I look at it as a scale of 0 to 100. 0 is victim. Everything happens to me. There's nothing I can do. 100 is God. I'm
Hmm.
God. I create everything. Most people are somewhere in the middle, especially in our culture, towards the 0 end of the scale.
Hmm.
My purpose is to help people move higher on that scale. That's why the whole second book was God realization.
Right.
All right. So I just want to address that because I know it's super scary to be talking to people about you are powerful, own it. And yeah, there are people who do these things in the world. And guess what? If you create your bubble of heaven, it's literally you walking through a war zone and the bullets whiz by because you do not have the magnetic resonance to attract that anymore. And that's a
Right.
super hard concept to understand. I still go into fear. I still waffle on that one. But nonetheless, Spirit's brought me, teach it, teach it, teach it.
Right. When you think of, I love that analogy of the person laying down. And because there's so many things right now for people that are listening to this that can be distractions from your joy and your skipping down the road, right? And I always love the analogy. I tell the girls all the time, just, life is like walking down the yellow brick road and you're just going to come at why. I always say the why, right? Those are choices. There's not a bad choice, but just keep going. You'll veer back to that. But it's like that that these distractions that are coming out of the woodwork every day. And if you follow your joy and you become that, you see your purpose as being of service. And how can I be that? Like for me, it's like I want to be that example. And I always tell everyone, and like even these little kids today at school, I was like, you've got to be the thermostat. Come to school there, like come to school at that high at 100. And when people see you at 100 and they came to school at a 60, they're going to want to be at 100 and they're going to figure out how to get there,
That's
right?
beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Right? So we go through the gratitude and the, how to have your morning routine and the affirmations and the compliments and and I said, "Now, how did that make you feel? Are you at 100? You got to be at 100 because there's a lot of down here at the 60s that are like they'll love to stay there. They don't, but you're going to be the one that brings them up to that. So, it's like there are these little kids, these little minds that know that. And I can just see them light up and go, "Yes, I know I'm 100." Like that's how I was born.
Yeah. And so what you're doing, Ashley, is just amazingly wonderful. And you're proof that as you give, you receive. You do what gives you joy, service. And what do you get back? Joy.
Oh, so much joy.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about purpose because I have a whole chapter in the book on it. And this is purpose is the number one question that Tracy and I get in our sessions with people. I'm
Hmm.
not sure about my purpose. And we have different takes on it, but I'm going to share mine because I'm me, right? And the bottom line is when somebody says a question about purpose, I instantly know that they're not happy doing what they're doing.
Right.
Bottom line, if you were
Yes.
happy doing what you were doing, you would not be questioning your purpose, right?
Yeah,
So,
that was what you're right. Because right now when you said that to me, I was like, wait, I would never ask you that. I love what I'm doing. I do, it brings
yes.
me joy.
Right. And that is your purpose, which is why the whole thing about service is you get fulfilled and then you do what gives you joy, which helps everybody else, which gives you back more joy as you've experienced this morning with the beautiful kiddos. And
Right.
it's just how it is. So when you're asking the question on purpose, it's like, well, just stop doing what you're doing. Like, well, what should I do? And I'm like, oh my God, you're playing the should game, right? You're going to should on yourself. Do anything
Right.
other than what you're doing, and that's how it works because spirit never tells you what to do. If it tells you what to do, you remain a child. You don't grow into your spiritual adulthood where you're a co-creator of reality. Okay. So you just do anything and then you'll get immediate feedback, more joy, less joy. And you keep navigating. And that's how you get fulfilled. And then from your
Yeah.
fulfillment, you do service. So I just want to mention this whole purpose thing because I think it's you just explained it beautifully by how you interacted with those kids and you got more joy. And so of course this is what you're supposed to do. You have an
Right.
internal guidance system inside of you. All right. And that is, are you happy? Move towards your happiness. Oh, but I can't because of this and that. Well, stop the I can't because of this and that stuff, right? That old doctor joke, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Stop doing it.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. No, it's so funny because so Paige, my oldest, is in college and she's rowing for the crew team. So she's an athlete. And this was my conversation with her yesterday. She's calling complaining. I'm calling to complain, Mom. And she goes down the list. I said, do you have it written down somewhere? Because you sure know it. Like, no, it's just on the top of my head. And I'm like, wow, you really know everything. So, and I've taught them so much about grateful, right? Like their gratitude journals I have in this closet since they were like 2 years old. They couldn't even write. They would just draw. So that's all they know
Wow.
gratitude.
Wow.
I have a whole closet full. So when I'm listening to her and I said, if I don't do anything, honey, that doesn't bring me joy. So if that is not bringing you joy, you need to figure out what does. So the next time you call me, tell me what brings you joy first.
Yeah.
And let's start doing what brings you joy. Because if that's not bringing you joy, that's not serving your highest good.
Yeah. So true. It's so true. And I just want to add this in because we've gone almost the full hour and I haven't said it yet. Clear, clear, clear. If you're doing something that is not giving you joy, that's an example of stuff you're holding in you. And once you get into the mentality of, oh, but I got to, or my friends won't like me, or how am I going to fit in, or whatever justification, that's what you're working on clearing. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful self guiding system. It's like a thermostat. It's going to always tell you when you're headed in the right direction because I'm hitting this blockage, right? And then you know what it is and you make up reasons. But instead of making up reasons, you clear them by fully experience what's holding it in place, and then you just keep walking towards the joy.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Oh, what can we end on, Peter? What do you want to, you know what? Oh, I know what. You started talking, channeling the dragons,
Oh, that was fun. I didn't even know that was possible.
right? Like, where did that come from? And how did you, like, what, tell me that experience.
Oh man. So they want to talk now.
They
I'm
do?
just gonna let them talk, okay?
Oh, good, fun.
Give me a second.
Okay.
That's a lot of energy coming through. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are grateful that you acknowledge us, and we want to explain your question. Although, really, when you ask where that come from, it's like, where does a flower come from? Where does the sun come from? It's like the beautiful young child question, why is this that? And we don't have a good answer other than we have been with you this entire time. Earlier, Peter spoke of when your genetics were put in place. We were one of the consciousness groups that was here with humanity, which is why in those older experiences that you had of trying to get humanity to the point where it can ascend as a whole physically, uh, the myths that you called them of the dragons were so prevalent, but our energy has always been here. And it is coming out more at the time now because our energy has no apologies. There's no consideration of, oh, let's all be what you would call in this kumbaya and make sure everybody is happy. We are what you would call selfish, and we are proud to be selfish because what was explained earlier about finding your joy and finding your fulfillment is selfish. You take care of yourself. That is why you're an individual consciousness. Now, this does not mean you're in service only to self. This is where we got the wrong end of the stick, where we got described as these entities that just hoard and just were killing others and demanding sacrifices. No, that is not how it is. That was the story told by the people who were scared of claiming your power. Because when you are powerful, guess what? You have access to all the abundance, all the treasure, all the magnificence. And then once you get there, it is correct everything you have spoken of in this service. That is what is there. We do service from the point of view of we're very good at what we do. We love what we do. We've accumulated so much bounty in the world because we are very clear of ourselves that we are happy to share it because we know this is how the accumulation system works. Give, you receive. It's exact. So it's not a question of where did this all come from. It's a question of understanding the higher realm. I think earlier Peter discussed a scale of 0 to 100. Well, dragons are much higher on that scale. And we're here showing up now because as humanity is climbing, we want to pull you more in that direction. And pulling you in that direction towards understanding you are a God being, a God source being, raises the question of, oh, isn't that selfish? Oh, how am I going to be in service if I do this? And we are here to tell you that no, we want you to be so selfish that you do your best. Because when you do your best, you're going to know you're connected to everyone. And what you do affects everyone. And that selfishness to you is service to them. You want everyone to be wealthy, accumulate your wealth, and then feel free to let it flow through you rather than just hoard it. Yes, this is a conundrum. Yes, it is saying it is one way and the other way at the same time, but you are getting into those places of power. So we are the Dragon Collective. We are here to help with this, help you understand your power, your magnificence, your greatness. Please call on us if you wish. We are happy to serve any of you who align with the power of who you are. We do not want friends who are sheep. We want friends who are powerful.
Wow.
Okay, that's the Dragon Collective. I don't know how to explain it any better. And I love when I channel them because my voice goes down an octave. I'm
It
like, what's that
does.
all about? I watch
Right.
myself
And your
do it. I'm
eyes
like,
got
what?
dark. Like, whoa. It's like, yeah,
I
it's
know,
like,
I know.
huh, interesting. I love it. Oh, Peter,
Yeah.
this again was amazing. Okay, so what are we talking about now to end this amazing
The retreat.
the retreat?
You've got till You've got till December 15th to sign up for $100 off. And this is going to be an amazing weekend. There's going to be three powerful clearings. Okay. There's going to be two marvelous activations. And then there's going to be a couple of processes where you're going to experience group consciousness, expanded consciousness, and actually be able to look through God's eyes back at yourself. Just
Mm.
marvelous, marvelous things that are going to happen. So why not go on that ride? Join us. We would love you to be there.
Yes. And just to be in person with you, I can't wait to have that connection and just that power. We can sit on Zoom and do clearings, and it's very powerful. And I have so many of my friends that have done them with you and Tracy. And, um, so I understand, we understand that power, but to be in person and have that experience,
It
Peter.
always magnifies when you have
Yes.
more people. So we're going to have a whole group.
Yep.
And then it magnifies even more when you're in the same space time place. It just gets another order of magnitude stronger.
Right.
So it's going to be, what is it, January 24 and
25 and
25?
26, 25, 26,
January
January.
25 and 26 in San
Yes.
Diego. I know some of you are like, well, why there? Because it's beautiful. And that's where Ashley lives. And she's graciously hosting this. So, yes, yes. So, yes, please sign up. I'd love to connect with you. It'd be so much to be in your fields and just, more joy, more everything
Right.
for everybody.
Right. Yes. So I can't wait. Yes. So you can sign up. I have it on Peter's on becomingawesome.one and then my website, ashleygoner.com, and also on my link tree on my Instagram. There's a link on that, but it's January 25th and 26th with both Peter and Tracy. And I have you can stay, there's beautiful, it's right downtown. You can see the Coronado Bridge, the skyline of San Diego. It's a beautiful building. Just come and uncover your magic with Peter and Tracy.
Yes, thank you. And thank you immensely, Ashley, for putting all the work together to host it and sponsor this. I'm just very, very grateful for that. And I just can't wait to see what's next. You asked me what's coming next, and I'm like, more is going to be revealed because it just keeps getting better and better. So thank
Right.
you. If you want to
Thank you.
join the fun, I'll see you there.
Yes. And thank you more, please. And, when you say thank you to me, it's like that gives me so much joy. So it's like, you're welcome, but it's like a selfish thing for me when I'm like, oh my gosh, Peter, but doing that weekend with you brings me so much joy.
Yeah, I'm filled up. So the new book is My Ascension Handbook Level 3. I highly recommend you do levels 1 and 2 before you do level 3 because there will be some concepts in it that are going to be pushing your boundaries. It's on Amazon. My Ascension Handbook. You can get it on our website, becomingawesome.one.one. So yeah, thank you. If you want it laid out in practical steps, this is it. And we're getting to the point now where because you're creating your bubble of heaven, other people around you are going to notice it. They're going to say, how'd you get there? So if you're good at understanding all this and explaining it, you just show them. And if not, here's a handy book where the steps are laid out.
Right. And easy to like that first two books. I loved it because we've said in the last episodes when we've talked about the first one and two books. It's for people that, it's like I said, how you described this portal. The science of it is intense, but it's like, yeah, you make it easy to understand and follow the way and to understand. I mean, even on when I've done your clearings on your website, your videos, it's just so, you just make it easy for people to learn and understand. So I love that about you.
Thank you. I wished I could have done a better job explaining the portals in our interview today, but it's so out there and I did not
Yeah, no, it
expect them
is.
to do that. But
It is
but
out
yeah,
there.
in the video which is on YouTube or in the book, it's laid out with pictures and explanations. Yeah, and if you need a practice session, you can purchase that for a very small fee on the website, where I'm just explaining it to you and you practice it. So there
Oh,
you
okay.
go.
Oh, good. Perfect. All right, Peter. Thank you. Thank you. Can't wait to see you in a couple months.
Thanks, Ashley. You stay blessed, and everybody out there, thank you so much for what you're doing to raise the vibration of the planet. It's an honor that I get to live here with you and we all get to ascend together. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.